Hello there, and welcome back to the channel. This is Nerd World, and today I am looking at Earth Force One. Clearly inspired by Air Force One of the United States government, used for traveling the POTUS all over the world. This vessel was used by the Earth Alliance to transport the Earth Alliance president, specifically Luis Santiago, who was the president at the time when we encountered this vessel, on his various interplanetary journeys. Before we get started, if you like this channel and any other content on it, please like, share, subscribe, and comment down below. And if you really like it, hit the bell notification icon, because you never know, that might actually help you see the videos that get posted in the future. There is a full list of Babylon 5, as well as various other sci-fi franchise videos on my channel. Also, I have two other channels, Nerd World History and Nerd World Films. You'll find Nerd World Films is the most similar to this one, but if you do have an interest in history, please check out my history channel, where I'm mostly currently exploring prehistory, particularly British prehistory, before the Romans, that would be. In addition to that, link down below, there are also various links to the different social media accounts that I occasionally check. If you'd like to subscribe to them as well, feel free to do so. I can be reached possibly on Twitter. Again, I don't check them very often, but I do try to check them occasionally. With all that said, let's get into this video. Earth Force One was the official name or code name given to a purpose-built class of transport vessel luxury cruiser used by the Earth Alliance presidents. There were actually two of these vessels known to have existed, cleverly named Earth Force One and, if you can guess it, Earth Force Two. Similar to how Air Force One, when transporting the US president now, typically you will launch two of the aircraft at a time. Both of these vessels would usually be launched simultaneously, but it was a little easier to determine where the president was, so it wasn't always the best security. It was more like one ship was a backup for the other. The vessel's size and exact commissioning is a little sketchy. How old these vessels were, how long they've been around, was a little unknown, but it's reasonable to conclude they probably weren't more than 10 years old, as Earth Alliance seems to be able to build ships like rabbits. So these vessels probably weren't that old. But Earth Force One was destroyed in 2259, January 1st, literally, the very beginning of 2259, during the assassination of Luis Santiago by his then Vice President Clark, who would be later sworn in aboard the ship's sister vessel, the Earth Force Two. In terms of capabilities, the vessel had, of course, sublight and FTL capability, having independent jump engines as well as the ability to use jump gates. It also carried various auxiliary craft and was never unescorted. It was always escorted by at least 4 presidential escort Star Furies, which were normal Star Furies with presidential symbols painted on them, but generally speaking there were always at least 4 of them escorting the vessel at any given time, as well as more embarked aboard the ship, as well as transports and shuttles, escape craft, and such things. In terms of appearance, the vessel presented what appeared to be like a large radiating disc, which was horizontal in nature when looking at it, or vertical, space is relative. Basically big flat disc facing you, which was also the only part of the ship that generated gravity, as this was a rotational drive section which used centrifugal force to create gravity localized in that area of the ship. Other parts of the vessel would not have had gravity. It was not equipped with heavy weaponry, but was equipped with point defense systems designed to shoot down incoming missiles, as well as other small spacecraft. It really relied on the fighters to engage, while the ship's powerful engines driven by its fusion reactors would really get the ship out of there. It did have very strong hull plating and could take a bit of a beating, but generally speaking this vessel had defensive systems only, electronic countermeasures, point defense systems, that's it. It was not a warship, it was a survive it and run away. And even travelling within Earth's local system, it would always be escorted by fighters. When travelling outside of the system, it would not be uncommon for one of these vessels to be also escorted by a Hyperion or Omega class destroyer in addition to the fighters, or at least have one nearby, perhaps waiting in hyperspace or sort of trailing behind the ship. These vessels' purpose was not only to transport the president, but also to be a sort of transportable palace for lack of a better term. It was a diplomatic office, and the president could make all decisions for the Earth Alliance from the ship if necessary. It had a massive and powerful onboard communication suite and ability to control all Earth Alliance forces throughout humanity's domain from this vessel, so if necessary the entire presidential cabinet could be transported aboard the ship and utilize it as a base of operations. Again, much like Air Force One is today. The vessel didn't really have large ground vehicles or the ability to create a prefabricated base on the planet. It was not a military ship, although it was somewhat military controlled. But it was not perfect, as of course the fusion reactors were rigged aboard the ship by conspirators working both with the Shadows, Mr. Morden, the Psi Corps, and Vice President Clark to assassinate Luis Santiago, who was at the time president of the Earth Alliance but also a strong proponent of the Babylon 5 project, as well as strengthening humanity's relations with alien races to improve trade and diplomacy and further the success of the human race. These were goals that were somewhat ideologically opposed to more xenophobic factions within the human race, again such as President Clark, who, similar to some world leaders over the last few years and in the past, used those fears that people had of the alien as a means to garner more power and cult of personality around himself, although President Clark's regime would only last for 3 years before he was overthrown by a rebellion led by Captain John Sheridan of Babylon 5 after he declared independence, fought the war against the Shadows, and then finally turned his attention back to Earth. And there we have Earth Force One, a very impressive looking ship that again could have been explored a little more in the show. You don't see much of it, and you don't see another one after the original one was destroyed. I would assume that President Clark knew that how easy the ship was to sabotage and blow up. He's not going to travel around too much in Earth Force 2. He probably had his own purpose-built Shadow-inspired battle cruiser or something anyway. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this vessel from Babylon 5. And there are more Babylon 5 videos coming, as I'm still trying to get through all the Earth Alliance ships before moving on to any of the alien vessels. Like, share, subscribe, comment down below if you enjoyed this video. Please check out my playlist, which I may and know I will forget to link down below, but hopefully I'll put it in a card. Maybe. And check out the rest of the videos. That said, if you made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you for watching, and bye bye.